Frank Muir goes into class and investigates the humour of the subject with the help of Alfred Marks.
There was a private soldier who went on sick parade. "What's the trouble, then?" asked the M.O. "Well, sir, I've in my abdomen, sir." "Now listen, soldier," said the M.O. "Officers have abdomens, NCOs have stomachs. What you've got is a pain in your belly." The titled gentleman decided to economize, so when he left his club, he didn't hail a taxi as usual. He caught a bus instead. When he got inside, he said to the conductor, "17 Colchester Square, and it's easy if you go through the park." Earl went salmon fishing in Ireland, and after a fortnight without a bite, he eventually hooked one small salmon. As Paddy, his gilly, landed it, the Earl said, Do you know that salmon cost me £200? "Ah," said Paddy, "aren't you the lucky man that you didn't catch two?" A filthy old tramp knocked at the door of a stately home, and when the lady of the house opened it, he said, "Oh, please, could I have a piece of fruit cake?" "What do you mean, fruit cake?" said the lady. "Surely a bit of bread would be better for you." "Oh, maybe," said the tramp. "You see, today's my birthday."
Do you know that my family goes back to the Marquis of Granby?
Yes, every evening at opening time. Middle-class children take riding lessons and dancing lessons. Lower-class children take anything that isn't nailed down.
Mary!
Yes, ma'am?
Mary, where's that chicken I told you to heat up?
Well, yes, ma'am. You told me to heat it up, and I've heated it up. All of it. A majestic Rolls-Royce was reversing into a metre space in London when a grubby little Mini nipped into the space from behind. The Mini's owner, a brash young man, got out and strolled past the Rolls-Royce and said, "Got to be young and fast to do that." The enormous car's owner didn't look at the young man. He just continued reversing and squashed the Mini into a tangled heap against the curb. Then he got out and handed the astonished young man a card of his insurance details and said, "You have to be old and very rich to do that."
The British class system is still very much with us. Although its form changes continually, and although some people maintain that there is progress towards a classless society, the barriers and divisions of class are still popular sources of comedy. For many people, class divisions are part of nature. It's part of the order of thing. All must observe their degrees. In the words of Ulysses in Shakespeare's Troilus and Cressida,
"Take but degree away, untune that string, and hark, what discord follows."
You know the expression "making a meal of it"? It's quite right, though. The discords still sound the discords of social climbing, the discords of impoverished gentility. But the barriers of class in England were always erodable by the power of money. Breeding could, in time, almost be bought. And this makes the definition of class increasingly difficult. What makes someone a gentleman? Perhaps it's a sort of naturality, something from within. Here's Edmund Burke.
"Somebody has said that a king may make a nobleman, but cannot make a gentleman."
Robert Surtees.
"The only infallible rule we know is that the man who's always talking about being a gentleman never is one."
There's a subtle difference between actually being a gentleman and not being one. Mr. Saltina, in Daisy Ashford's book, The Young Visitors, shows commendable self-knowledge on the subject.
"I do hope I shall enjoy myself with you. I am partial to the ladies if they are nice. I suppose it is my nature. I'm not quite a gentleman, but you would hardly notice it."
There are certain standards by which one can begin to divine one's social position: education, accent, use of language, and so on. It's difficult to talk about social divisions with any authority. I think at this juncture in the programme, what we need are a few basic definitions.
The English still enjoy the remains of their class system. There's one rich man in Chelsea who's so snobbish he won't even travel in the same car as his chauffeur. How do the three classes in England see each other?
I look down on him because I am upper class.
I look up to him because he is upper class. But I look down on him because he is lower class. I am middle class. I know my place. I look up to them both. But I don't look up to him as much as I look up to him. Because he has got innate breeding.
I have got innate breeding, but I have not got any money. So sometimes I look up to him.
I still look up to him. Because although I have money, I am vulgar. But I'm not as vulgar as him. So I still look down on him. I know my place. I look up to them both. But while I am poor, I'm industrious, honest and trustworthy. Had I the inclination, I could look down on them. But I don't. We all know, but what do we get out of it?
I get a feeling of superiority over them.
I get a feeling of inferiority from him. But a feeling of superiority over him. I get a pain in the back of my neck.
John Cleese, Ronnie Barker, Ronnie Corbett. And a whiff of David Frost in the beginning. Issues of class have long been subjects for discussion. Here's the famous question posed by John Bell in his Blackheath sermon to Wat Tyler's rebels in 1381.
When Adam delved and Eve span, who was then a gentleman?
Oh, indeed. Presumably not Eve. One must beware of assuming that all men are equal when stripped off and their clothes and symbols of position taken away from them. Here's an extract from the Naturist magazine about a nudist club.
Membership is strictly limited as to numbers, so there is no fear that it will ever be overcrowded or that uncongenial spirits or persons of a low class will ever bring a jarring note into the club. The Abbey Club meets the needs of those who hitherto have been deterred from joining a naturist club by the fear that they may find as fellow members some humble employee, the butler, baker, broker, or the insurance man, snobbish about the club.
Heaven forfend. Wonderful how broad-minded people can be about class. One of the functions of education should be to instill a healthy tolerance for all types of people. But often it does just the reverse. And it's sometimes difficult to be tolerant without being patronising. Here's an extract from the famous Eric, or Little by Little.
There was one point about Ayrton Latin School that Eric never regretted. It was the mixture there of all classes. On those benches, gentlemen's sons sat side by side with plebeians, and no harm but only good seemed to come from the intercourse. Many a time afterwards, when Eric, as he passed down the streets, interchanged friendly greetings with some young glazier or tradesman whom he remembered at school, he felt glad that thus early he'd learned practically to despise the accidental and nominal differences which separate man and man.
Right and proper. Yes. It is important that there should be a kindly relationship between the haves and the have-nots.
Nowadays, it is the custom to think of the aristocracy and leisured classes of Edwardian days as being devoted to little else besides selfish pleasures and amusements. Now, this simply was not the case, and I would like in the next few minutes attempt to destroy this fallacy. As a very young boy, some of my earliest recollections are of being taken by my father, in those days Chancellor of the Exchequer, on his occasional tours of the estate at Charters. In the course of these expeditions, it was his practice to visit those among his poorer tenants and employees who, by reason of accident, old age, or sheer carelessness, happened to be destitute and nearly starving. Dear faithful Elliot, the coachman, would invariably accompany us, carrying an enormous wicker basket which was covered with a dazzling white cloth and containing bowls of dripping and cold stock, cabbage stalks, potato peelings, and other nutritious kitchen scraps. As well as these material comforts, my father also distributed tracts of an improving and uplifting nature, which he wrote himself and printed at his own expense. I very well remember one occasion when my father and I visited the sick bed of an ancient and decrepit wagoner who had somehow managed to get himself badly trampled underfoot while attempting to stop a runaway horse and cart. Although the poor old fellow could hardly move, he made a pathetic effort to sit up in bed and tug at his forelock as we entered the wretched bedroom. You see, our sudden appearance induced in him what psychologists now call a conditioned reflex, and this honest rustic could no more have prevented himself from trying to show his respect than a dog can prevent its tail wagging at the side of its master. My father, who I think I may have mentioned before, was at this time First Lord of the Admiralty. He began to tell the invalid that such formalities could be dispensed with under the circumstances, but too late. With a sickening thud that I can hear to this very day, the grizzled pate came into smart contact with an oak beam which curved down just above the bed. And with a low moan, the unhappy man fell back stunned onto his pillow. He never regained consciousness. Distressed as we were at this incident, my father and I offered a word of cheer to the wagoner's wife, and we pressed upon her a basket full of rotten apples and a bundle of tracts to court a philanthropic word. A most merciful release of mother after the wagoner's funeral. Why, he might have lingered on in a bedridden condition for many years, a misery to himself and a burden to others. Providence works in many strange ways. As a footnote, I would like to add that there is no doubt in my mind at all that my father, who was then, I fancy, president of the Board of Trade, would actually have attended the funeral of his late employee had it not been for a sudden attack of gout that kept him indoors on the day. I hope, in relating this anecdote, that I have indicated something of the wonderful sort of relationship which used to exist between the family at the Hall and the peasantry on the estate, a relationship which, alas, is nowhere to be found nowadays. A thing I fear that has changed for the best.
Peter Sellers. It is important to have the right attitude to servants. Here's a poem by Harry Graham called Mr. Jones.
There's been an accident, they said. Your servant's cut in half. He's dead. Indeed, said Mr. Jones. And please, send me the half that's got my keys.
If you didn't guess, that was a ruthless rhyme by him. Actually, it's no joke having servants, so, as you all know. The problems are immense. How do some people manage? Here's a letter from the Times.
But we cannot understand why, although there are thousands of women and girls unemployed, when we ask at the labour exchanges for domestic servants, we are told that none is available. I, for example, who live alone very quietly with a staff of 7 domestics, am quite unable to obtain a kitchen maid.
Not for me to comment, but it does seem inhuman that anyone should suffer such privations in this day and age. And then sometimes the behaviour of the serving classes gives cause for concern.
Do you gents want something to drink? Though said in a perfectly friendly manner, was not way for a wise-class passengers.
That one was from the Sunday Times. Mind you, it's sometimes difficult to know what is correct behaviour at table, in which case you can take advice.
Nowadays, if you're worried about seating arrangements for your guests, you can write to the Heralds of the College of Arms and hope for a reply as superb as the one received by the anxious hostess of the Aga Khan. The Aga Khan, it ran, is held by his followers to be the direct descendant of God. An English duke takes precedence.
That splendid fact, which I'm sure in your bones you knew already, was from the Housewife magazine. The peers of the realm are born to rule, but perhaps not to cope with the more domestic details of life. Here's a report from the Sunday Telegraph.
The perils of travelling without a valet are illustrated by an experience which recently befell the Duke of Marlborough as a guest of one of his daughters. She was surprised to hear him complain that his toothbrush did not foam properly, so would she buy him a new one? He had to be reminded gently that without the aid of tooth powder, usually applied for him each morning by his valet, no toothbrush foamed automatically.
Making mock of the aristocracy has a long history. Here's one from Matthew Arnold.
One has often wondered whether upon the whole earth there is anything so unintelligent, so unapt to perceive how the world is really going as an ordinary young Englishman of our upper class.
It's a bit sweeping, perhaps, for nowadays. Many of our peers are very aware of how the world's going, particularly those peers who make vast profits from their stately homes.
How do you do?
How are you, sir?
Very pleased to meet you.
Thank you, Your Lordship. You have certainly a beautiful home here.
You like it?
Yes, yes. Very nice. All these,
It's lovely, isn't it?
It's a marvel. All these people. What are all these people doing here?
Yes, well, you see, I tell you, where we have, where I think I've scored over the other earls,
Yes,
is that, you see, they have nothing to offer except their home, as such, and a few old tin suits of armor. Whereas I have got into the thing thoroughly, and I have other attractions. So, you see, when they come out, and they've seen the home, then we set about them.
Well, I see all the attractions, Your Lordship. But would you please tell the radio audience exactly, would you point out, what is that over there, for example?
No, that thing I got. I find that takes a lot of money.
Oh?
I probably take more money with that than I do everything else we've got here.
You mean you
take
take
out
money?
guys or anything. Yes, I tell you what that is. On my frequent trips into the West End, into town, I noticed that, you probably noticed yourself,
Yes,
a lot
yes.
of buildings being pulled down and put up, you know, I mean
Oh,
construction
yes,
and demolition.
yes.
Well, what I decided to do, I noticed that members of the public stopped, you see, and watched this going on. And I thought to myself, well, my goodness me, if they've got time to stop and watch, they've got time to pay. Rather mercenary about these things.
And you charge these people admission?
Oh, yes, indeed. You see, the idea is they can come in one day and watch these bricks being put up.
I see.
And then the following day, 2 days later, exaggeration, and they can see them being, the same bricks they saw being put up and taken down again.
Oh, that's
and they pay a normal fee, you know, but half a crown or something like that. And they can stay all day and drink tea.
Well, Earl, is there anything else you'd like to say? This is going all over America, you know, and I'm sure America is very interested.
Well, may I plug my latest record? As a matter of fact, I've made a record. I've made a jolly good record, and I hope it will become a bestseller in America. What?
Well, I'd like to wish you all the best luck with your record.
Thank you very much indeed.
Norman, Earl of Prawn.
Prawn, yes.
Thank you.
And here it is. I say, doodle up a dong ding. Get a jiving and a writhing.
Jolly rocking weather.
I'm a gambling girl, rock around the castle, a gambling girl, just a hound dog girl. I love to roll with my lover doll. They call me Earl, Earl. Let me hear. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, time for rock kicking. I say, let's go. Let's jump like mad. Rock me, Peter. Oh, I got the big beat bad. Rock with the tenants and roll with the peasants. Oh, I love to feel that beat in my country seat. Rock, 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 oh, do rock, rock.
We had a few more Peter Sellers there. And of course, at the top of the social ladder is the royal family, for whom many would still lay down their lives, though sometimes the sacrifice required is rather smaller than that. A report from the Sunday Express.
At a two-room cottage near Glamis Castle, a white-haired mother spoke proudly yesterday of a little service she'd been able to give the royal family as she revealed that 34 years ago she agreed to her baby son taking the birth registration number of 13 so that it should not go to Princess Margaret.
Oh. Very nice. Oh. The royal family is a social archetype in this country, and many aspire to imitate the behaviour of its members. Some aspire further, to be members by marriage, though the possibilities there are diminishing, certainly for men. Or to find some royal blood in their own ancestry. There's always a hope of better things in the family history. The best thing to do if you're interested in this is to start by consulting the right books. Oscar Wilde from A Woman of No Importance.
You should study the peerage, Gerald. It is the best thing in fiction the English have ever done.
And here are two experts in the matter of genealogy.
What's that you're reading, Pete? Oh, this is a wonderful book, Dad. It's steeped in history and everything else. It's Burke's Peerages. Burke's Peerages, what's that? Oh, it's a brilliant idea. It's a book which contains the names of the 20,000 most noble people in the realm. Who, Pete? Well, the 20,000 most noble people. It's a superb idea. It all dates back to the 18th century, Dad, the age of reason, when, of course, the clever chord reigned supreme. Yeah. And there was this Burke, you see. What was his... There was this Burke. What was his name, Pete? Burke. Burke was his name. He was one... Burke, yeah. A high-fluting Burke's, one of the great Sussex Burkes. Yeah. And he was wandering about in his palatial parkland on a fine 18th century summer morning. Yeah. A lovely scene, as you can well imagine, the sun dappling through the trees. Of course, one of his beautiful peacocks flaunting its feathers in the sunlight. Precisely. emitting the strange bird-like cry which sometimes comes from them. Very similar to the noise you just admitted. And suddenly... Play it cool, boy. No, suddenly it come to him. What come to him, the peacock? No, this wonderful concept come to him. He thought, why don't I get hold of the names of the 20,000 most noble people in the realm and flog it for £2 a time? He made a fortune out of it. Of course he did, Pete. I could exactly the same thing, though, couldn't I? I could go up Barron Road and knock on every door saying, excuse me, Mrs. Taylor, I wonder if you'd give me your name and I'll put it in a book and flog it back to you. You do very well, the Barron Road Gazette. Yeah. Could do very nicely with that sort of thing. Of course you could. Clean up, boy. Of course, the whole business of ancestry is extremely fascinating. I've been into my past, you know. Really? Yes, I've traced myself back at Somerset House. And do you know, in primordial times, my great-great-great-great-grandfather come over with the Druids. What, the Druids of Lymington Crescent? Yes, George and Phoebe's ancestors. Oh, yeah. The wonderful thing about it, the ancestry business is, you know, we've all got a bit of noble blood in our veins. Yeah, it's the best place for it, isn't it? Well, it's a wonderful place for blood, Dad. Let's keep it that way. Let's keep it that way in this nuclear age when all the whole hydrogen hovers over us all. Exactly. Exactly. And do you know that we're all in line for succession to the throne? Really? Yes, if 48,701 people died, I'd be Queen.
Peter Cook and Dudley Moore. Well, Pete and Dud brought our classy programme to an end. Hope you've enjoyed it. Next week, Alfred and I will be taking a lower middle class look into food. Until then, good day to you.
Ta-ra, much.
Frank Muir Goes Into Class was produced by Simon Brett and Bob Oliver Rogers.